On my birthday, my sister-in-law interrupted the cake cutting to insult me, and my husband just laughed it off. So, there I was, grinning and saying, well, she's gonna love my joke, too. A few moments later, you could see all the color drain from her face as she realized what I had done. Let me back up a bit. I'm 34, married to Ryan who's 36, and we've been hitched for 8 years, living the Chicago life. For a long time, I honestly thought we had a decent marriage. Not perfect, but whose marriage is? I loved him, thought he loved me back, but there was always this one thing that bugged me, his sister Olivia, who's 38. Olivia's one of those people who thinks the universe revolves around her. If you have good news, she's got better news. You buy something nice, she suddenly needs it too, but bigger. You achieve something, she'll find a way to belittle it. At first, it was just a personality quirk, not enough to cause drama. But over the years, it got worse. She made our wedding about her by announcing her engagement at our reception. That lasted all of 4 months. And when I got promoted, she hijacked our celebration dinner by announcing she might go back to school. Didn't happen, by the way. Every time I tried to talk to Ryan about it, he'd brush it off like, oh, she's just joking. That's Olivia for you. Well, things got serious. Last month was my birthday, nothing too crazy, just a small dinner at our place with close ones. It had been a rough year at work, and Ryan suggested something low-key, which I thought was sweet. Everything was just right, the food, the music, the people. I was genuinely happy. But Olivia was too quiet, which should have been a red flag. Just as I was about to cut my cake, she clinked her glass. Before we do this, she said, standing up, I just have to say something. I put the knife down, and everyone turned to her. She grinned and said, I think it's adorable we're making a big deal out of this. I mean, 34 isn't exactly an achievement. Cue awkward laughter. Then she dropped the bomb, but you know what is an achievement? Creating life. Yep, I'm pregnant. The room went wild with gasps and congrats while I stood there, frozen, cake knife in hand. Ryan just shrugged, mumbling, she likes to joke around. And that was it, my birthday, my one night, overshadowed by Olivia's news as she soaked up the limelight, hand on stomach, with that fake modesty plastered on her face. I should have been furious, and I was, but I also smiled because Olivia had no idea what was coming. See, 3 weeks before my birthday, I stumbled upon something. Ryan had left his laptop open while he was showering. I wasn't snooping, promise, but this email popped up from his bank about a $2,500 transfer to Olivia. I was like, why on earth is he sending her that much money? Something felt off, so I did some digging. What I found made me sick. Bank statements showed tons of transfers from Ryan to Olivia over the past year. Thousands each month. Texts between them that made my stomach churn. Olivia said, what if she finds out? Ryan replied with, we'll just say the baby's someone else's. It hit me like a brick. Olivia wasn't just needy, she was sleeping with my husband and pregnant with his kid. I didn't cry then, just sat there, hands shaking. Then I left, not knowing where, just walked. After about an hour, I decided I wouldn't scream or cry. I'd make them both regret this forever. So, I hired a private investigator. Within days, I had it all, photos, messages, receipts, Olivia and Ryan sneaking into a hotel, credit card transactions for dates, gifts, even a weekend getaway. I printed everything, put it in a nice folder, and waited, for my birthday, for Olivia to steal the moment like she always did. And she did. Now, standing in front of me, soaking up the attention, she had no clue her life was about to implode. I picked up my wine glass and said, wow, a baby. That's amazing, Olivia. And it's even crazier considering the dad is already married. Silence. Olivia's smile vanished, Ryan went pale, and someone whispered, what? I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and watched the chaos unfold. Olivia gasped, Ryan stammered, his mom nearly fainted. And I just stood there, calm, steady, in control. For the first time in years, I had finally taken something back. So, there I was, just having dropped a bombshell that shook the entire room. Everyone was completely frozen, eyes flicking back and forth between me, Ryan, and Olivia. It was like time stopped for a moment. Ryan finally snapped out of it first, making this weird choking noise, like his brain couldn't process fast enough. Olivia, on the other hand, looked around frantically, like she was trapped. Then everything went crazy. Ryan started yelling, what the hell are you talking about? Olivia, you're lying, you're nuts. I stayed cool, took a sip of my wine, and threw a folder on the table like I was playing the best poker hand ever. If I'm lying, I said, then you won't mind everyone having a peek. Some guests couldn't resist and leaned in. My best friend Rachel got her hands on the folder, flipped it open, and gasped, "Oh my God." Ryan tried to snatch it away, but Rachel was quicker, telling him to sit down. Shockingly, he did. She started reading everything aloud: hotel receipts, bank transfers, texts, and the room went from confused whispers to absolute horror. Ryan's mom, Linda, who was standing by Olivia, looked like she had just touched something gross. She snatched the folder, whispering, "Tell me this isn't true," but Olivia was speechless. Ryan, ever the coward, turned to me, snapping, "Why would you do this? Like I was the bad guy here." I just shrugged. "Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. Was I supposed to let you keep having fun with your own sister?" Everyone gasped, someone dropped a glass, and Ryan flushed red, hissing at me to keep my voice down. Olivia finally found her voice, though it was shaky and high-pitched. "It's not like that," she stammered. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, then what's it like?" She clenched her fists, tried to explain, "You don't understand, Ryan and I," but she realized she'd already said too much. Silence filled the room, everyone waiting for her to dig a bigger hole, and then she just ran. She bolted, shoving past people, almost tripping in her hurry to leave. Ryan hesitated for a moment before chasing her, and just like that, they were gone. Turning back to the stunned guests, I cheekily asked, "So, cake anyone?" There were a few nervous laughs, and Rachel patted me on the back. Meanwhile, Ryan's mom, who used to think the sun shone out of his behind, was in pieces. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing, "Oh my God, oh my God." Rachel awkwardly patted her back, offering water or maybe a therapist. Ryan's dad, Richard, who'd been silent this whole time, just got up, grabbed his coat, and muttered, "I'm going to kill him." And he was serious. He stormed toward the door, with Linda jumping up to stop him, but he didn't even pause. I followed him outside and caught sight of Ryan and Olivia having a full-blown argument on the driveway. Olivia was no longer playing innocent, screeching at Ryan, "How the hell did you let her find out?" Ryan was pacing, running his hands through his hair. "I don't know, she must have been snooping." "Snooping?" I snapped, stepping forward. "You left your laptop open." Both Ryan and Olivia whipped around, eyes wide, and then Richard, without saying a word, just decked Ryan right in the face. Ryan hit the ground, blood everywhere, probably a broken nose, maybe a concussion. Honestly, it was kind of satisfying. After that punch, everything happened fast. Olivia screamed, Ryan groaned, clutching his face. The neighbors must have called the cops because, soon enough, 2 squad cars pulled up. An officer stepped out, asking what was going on. Ryan, still on the ground, moaned, "My dad hit me." Richard shrugged, "Yep." The officer blinked, why?" So I chimed in, "Because my husband was sleeping with his own sister." The officer's face was priceless. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. Olivia started crying, fake crocodile tears, the whole shebang. "It's not what it looks like," she wailed. One of the cops sighed, not wanting to deal with this mess, and said, "Ma'am, I don't even know what this looks like." Ryan, now bleeding all over his shirt, croaked, "Just get me out of here." The cops looked at him, then Richard, and said, "Sir, we're gonna have to take you in for assault." Richard didn't argue, just nodded. Before they could cuff him, Linda ran outside, hysterical, begging them not to arrest him. She was bawling so hard she could barely stand. Rachel had to hold her up. The cop, clearly not up for this drama, sighed, "Look, if he doesn't press charges, we can let this slide." Ryan, still on the ground, muttered, "I just want to go home." The cop turned to Richard, "You good with that?" Richard scoffed, "I've already wasted a punch on this piece of, I'm not wasting any more energy." And that was it. The cops left, and Ryan and Olivia's whole mess was out in the open. So, Olivia just hopped into Ryan's car and zoomed off, and I figured I'd head back inside. I mean, after all that drama, I deserved the biggest slice of cake I could cut. Seriously, this night wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. I should have called it a night right then, feeling like I'd just blown their little secret sky high, but as I sat there munching on cake and watching the party fizzle out, something didn't sit right. Ryan and Olivia had left way too quietly. No yelling, no last-minute attempts to twist the story, no crazy excuses, they just made a quick exit, and that was all kinds of suspicious. Ryan never just leaves things hanging, he always goes for the last word, the final punch, always needing to be on top. And Olivia, she's practically professional at playing the victim. But instead of throwing a fit, she just slid into Ryan's car and off they went. It didn't add up, and I knew they were far from finished. Turns out, I was spot on. I woke up the next morning to a bunch of missed calls and texts. At first, I thought it was just party fallout, maybe Ryan's folks had something to say, or a friend wanted to grab coffee and go over last night's events. But then I noticed the name lighting up my screen, my boss, and the message made my blood freeze. Call me ASAP. We need to talk. I shot out of bed, heart pounding, and dialed immediately. What's going on? His voice was all business. I see. We got some emails about you this morning. Quite a few, actually. My stomach felt like it was doing flips. What do you mean? He went on to tell me someone sent HR a whole package, screenshots, photos, accusations. He paused for a second, then added, "It's serious." I felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me. What kind of accusations? He rattled off a list that could ruin anyone: sexual harassment, embezzlement, workplace bullying. They even had a so-called testimony from someone I used to work with. I almost dropped the phone right then. "This is nuts," I said, trying to keep it together. "I know," he replied, sounding frustrated. "But corporate has to investigate, so you're on administrative leave." I was shaking, my hands barely holding onto the phone. Who would do something like this? And then it hit me, Olivia. Of course. That's scheming, desperate, evil. Well, let's just say I was furious. This wasn't just some petty revenge, this was all-out war. I spent the rest of the day doing damage control. I called HR, got my lawyer involved, and reached out to coworkers to see if anyone had heard anything. The testimony was fake, the coworker it supposedly came from hadn't written it. The embezzlement claim? Just lies. But since it was all anonymous, HR had to follow through, and I was stuck in limbo. And Olivia knew that. She wasn't trying to win, she was setting me up to suffer. Later that afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" Silence. Then a hesitant voice, Is this, my name?" "Yeah, who's this?" More silence. "My name's Melanie. I think we need to talk. It's about Olivia and Ryan." I froze. "What about them?" She took a deep breath. "I'm Olivia's former best friend, and I know everything." We met later that evening at a coffee shop. She was in her late 30s, blonde, with tired eyes that said she'd seen her share of life's curveballs. Without wasting a second, she was like, "Olivia is a snake, and I know what she did to you. But, trust me, she's done worse." I leaned in closer. "Tell me everything." And she did. Apparently, Olivia had a history of blowing up other people's lives. Once, she got a so-called friend fired by sneaking drugs into her car and tipping off the cops. Even though the charges were dropped, the friend lost her job. She'd faked a stalker and pinned it on an ex to ruin his reputation and even tried to blackmail her own mom for cash. But the real kicker? Olivia had pulled this exact same stunt before. "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling a chill. Melanie hesitated, then showed me her phone. 3 years back, Olivia had an affair with another married guy. When his wife found out, Olivia turned the tables on her with fake accusations, just like she was doing to me. "What happened to the wife?" I asked. Melanie exhaled. "She lost everything, her job, her reputation. She had to move out of state. Olivia came out on top." I felt sick to my stomach. "Why are you telling me this?" Melanie looked me in the eye. "Because Olivia screwed me over too, and I want her to pay." By the time I got home, my mind was racing. This wasn't just about me anymore. Olivia was like a career psychopath, and if I didn't do something, she'd wreck someone else's life too. So, I did what anyone desperate for justice would do. I called up my private investigator and said, "I need you to dig up everything you can on Olivia, every dirty secret, past scam, everything." He gave a chuckle and said, "You got it." And then, I made another call to Richard, Ryan's dad, the guy who'd already had no problem punching his own son in the face. "It, Richard," I said, trying to keep my voice calm and composed. "How would you like to help me take down Olivia and Ryan?" There was a pause, and then Richard uttered the most satisfying words I'd ever heard, "Tell me what to do." After that call, everything kicked into high gear. The private investigator was on it, and in just a few days, he dug up a treasure trove of dirt on Olivia. Turns out, she had a history of scams, a trail of people she'd wronged, and even some legal skeletons in her closet. She'd been sued twice before for defamation and settled out of court both times. Clearly, causing havoc was her mo. Meanwhile, my friend Melanie struck gold. She managed to reach out to Olivia's ex-best friend, the one Olivia had framed for drug possession, and got her to spill the beans. When she told me the whole story, I knew exactly what had to be done. It was time to call it quits on Olivia's antics. I mapped out everything meticulously. Richard, pulling some strings, managed to get in touch with Linda, who is Ryan and Olivia's mom, to set up a family intervention at their place. We played it off like it was a chance to mend fences and have a heart-to-heart. Without a clue about our true intentions, Olivia and Ryan agreed to come over. The night of the big showdown was thick with tension. Olivia and Ryan strutted in, acting like they didn't have a care in the world. Olivia wore her trademark smug grin, still thinking she could smooth talk her way out of anything. Little did she know, this was her moment of reckoning. Richard sat at the head of the table, looking incredibly tense and angry. Linda looked emotionally spent, her eyes swollen from crying. Melanie and Rachel sat beside me, ready to have my back. Across from us sat Olivia and Ryan, about to face the music. Richard kicked things off, saying, "We need to talk about what you two have been up to." Ryan groaned, "Dad, come on, this is crazy." Olivia folded her arms defiantly, "Really? What do you guys want from me?" I leaned in and replied, "We want the truth." Olivia rolled her eyes, "You already know the truth. Ryan and I are together, get over it." I smiled and said, "Oh, Olivia, I meant the real truth." Then I slapped a thick pile of documents onto the table and flipped through them. "This," I said, "is the proof that you've been pulling this stuff for years, framing people, trashing lives, ruining reputations. Everyone here is about to hear who you really are." Olivia's confident facade cracked. "What is this? This is crap," she yelled, her voice going shrill. I turned to Melanie, "Go ahead, tell them." Melanie took a deep breath, then stared straight at Olivia. "You set me up with drugs, Olivia. You planted drugs in my car because I started seeing your ex, and you wanted to ruin me," Linda gasped while Olivia sat frozen. Melanie went on, "And then there was Leah. You accused her of workplace harassment, and she lost everything because of you." Olivia's hands shook as she denied it, but I slammed down another piece of evidence. "Explain this," I said, pointing to a police report from when Olivia was 18. She had falsely accused a teacher of misconduct after getting a bad grade. Richard jumped up so fast his chair screeched. "You did what?" Olivia's face went pale. "That's not, I mean," she stammered, turning to Ryan. "Ryan, say something." But Ryan looked at the documents, then at Olivia, and for the first time, he seemed truly afraid. "You did this?" he whispered. Olivia's composure crumbled as she yelled, "So what if I did? I survived. They deserved it." And with that, she sealed her own fate. Ryan fell back like he'd been hit. "Oh my God," he mumbled, "I believed you. I ruined my life for you." Olivia panicked, "Ryan, no, you love me. We were in this together." But Ryan backed away, "No, you used me. You used everyone. I threw away my marriage for you." Olivia reached for him, but Ryan pushed her away like she was toxic. "Stay away from me," he whispered. He then turned to me, eyes full of regret, "I'm so sorry." But it didn't offer me any satisfaction. "You don't get to be sorry," I told him. He hung his head, whispering, "I've got nothing left." And I didn't feel sorry for him, not one bit. The fallout was quick and brutal. Ryan's family disowned both of them. Richard kicked Ryan out, and Linda cut ties with them forever. Olivia lost everything. The people she had wronged came forward and began filing real lawsuits. She became a social outcast. Ryan disappeared. Last I heard, he was living in a rundown motel, unemployed, without friends, and drowning in regret. As for me, HR found out I was falsely accused and offered me a promotion as a make-good. I took some time for myself, traveling solo to Italy and reconnecting with old friends I'd lost along the way. Most importantly, I moved on. Seriously, I never even glanced at it. It's like when you're at a party, and there's that one dish that just doesn't catch your eye at all, no matter how many times you pass by it. Just wasn't interested, I guess, so I didn't bother checking it out.